What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Life's a Garden. As you may have noticed, yet again coming out a day late than the usual Monday release date. Seems to be a running theme the last few weeks. But I promise it's not a change. We're not moving to Tuesdays. It's still going to be on Mondays. It just seems to be one thing after the other, whether it was St. Patrick's Day, and then I guess, last night. I'll just tell you, be straight up and honest, I had a little bit too much to drink, and I was planning on coming to doing the podcast, but decided I didn't want to do two back-to-back drunken episodes, because I feel like that would have been a little redundant, and you guys might have thought I had a problem, and I think I might. I think I actually might have a problem. To be honest with you, this morning I felt really bad. Like, just a whole lot of self-loathing. My self-hatred was, like, at an all-time high. Or at least lately, I'm usually a pretty happy-go-lucky guy, but I was just really disappointed in myself, the way I conducted myself yesterday. I had already made a plan. I had planned on doing the podcast. I planned on, like, calling it an early night, go to work on Monday, have a great day. Instead, I feel like it felt like shit this morning. Physically, mentally, all of it just not good. And I'll lead this into today's positive motivational message, which essentially, it took me a minute. Like I said, I was just really in my feelings, just feeling bad for myself. And I just had to sit and think, this too will pass. And I think that's a good message for today, is this too shall pass. And in addition to that, I had to forgive myself. We all make mistakes. We all do dumb things. And for me, it's mostly just about, failing to accomplish my plan that I had set forward. I had a plan, and I just abandoned it and chose to do stupid things and drink and make my Monday that much harder for myself. In addition to that, I hate thinking back to nights when I've drank and I just think about, the stupid things I did and said. I don't like being a fool. I don't like making myself look or act like a fool. And then you're just embarrassed by that. So it was a whole lot of things that I was thinking about today. But I had to forgive myself. You just have to forgive yourself for mistakes you make. Yeah, and you got to learn from them. You got to learn from your mistakes. You got to move on from them. Make sure you're not going to make it a habit and do it all the time. And self-reflect. And so for that, I think it's time I take a little bit of a break. Going to the bars and staying out late and doing stupid stuff like that. So that's today's positive motivational message, is just remember, when things are bad, when things seem bleak, this too shall pass. And honestly, I didn't think it would pass so quickly. I came home, took a nap, and it was like I started my day fresh, because I had already given myself that forgiveness, and then I reset. I had a little bit of a reset, started feeling better physically, and the day's been much better so far. So figured I'd just throw that out there, and I thought that was a good positive message to get us started with today. We got a whole lot more to talk about, so let's get that intro music going. This is episode 195 of Life's a Garden. All right. Did not think we'd be getting an episode out this week. There was a few times I was like, am I actually going to do this? Do I want to do this? Of course I want to do it. I'm here. I'm doing it. We are in the middle of March Madness. Basketball at its peak. We're almost getting into NBA playoffs. We got NHL on the line coming up here for the playoffs. Good time to be a sports fan. My bracket did not pan out very well. I was actually, you know what? I'll say this. I was doing pretty good in the beginning. I had a few big upsets. I had James Madison winning. I had Duquesne winning, Oregon, and Colorado. So I had some pretty big upsets on my list. And for a while there, I was in the top, 85% or something like that in the nation for how your bracket's doing. No, I think I was in the top 95%, something like that. I don't know. I wasn't paying that close of attention to that because I just did one for fun. But now I think for the most part I've kind of failed because my second round was not as good as my first round. But it's been fun to watch. I got UNC going the whole way. They look pretty damn good. I think I might actually get that right. Usually I pick Gonzaga, but Gonzaga's been... They break my heart every year. So I decided not to hitch my wagon to the old Gonzaga horse this year. And I had them losing in the second round and they ended up winning. So that kind of hurt. Of course, I'm cool with it. I still like Gonzaga a lot. But March Madness. And then... Apparently, I'm living in March sadness in my feelings. No, I actually saw a funny one too. I almost wanted to call the episode this, and then I was like, I can't steal that. Barstool Sports did a bracket called Starch Madness. All the potatoes, all of your top favorite potatoes going head to head. It was dumb. But anyway, what was I gonna say about March Madness too? There's been some good games, man, and Colorado almost advanced. I guess it was yesterday. It would have been Sunday. They almost advanced. I was rooting for Colorado. I had them going on in the second round. And then this upcoming week, we're going to have the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8. Oh, yeah. Oh, well, and in addition to the men's, we also have the women's tournament, which I would say this year is probably the most watched the women's tournament has been, just because it's women's basketball is starting to get some decent notoriety. As much shit as I've given women's basketball, which to all credit is somewhat well deserved. And it's not because of them, it's because of the fans who bitch and moan about people not wanting to watch women's basketball, and then they don't watch it themselves. But it does seem to be on the rise because there are a lot of good up-and-coming young talent that are like Caitlin Clark and what's her name? The girl from why can't I think of her name? From LSU. It's right on the tip of my tongue. I'm not going to remember it though. But Caitlin, okay, this was kind of funny to me though. I had to poke fun at this. Caitlin Clark, probably the number one. She might even be one of the number one athletes in the United States right now, or in all of sports. She's just on top of the world right now. She was like, yeah, it feels like more people are interested in the women's bracket than the men's bracket. And I'm like, yeah, that's probably pretty hopeful thinking. And you know what? And that's not to discredit them. I agree. I think women's basketball, especially in the college, has grown in popularity. But to say that it's going to be more popular than the men's basketball, that's a pretty wild claim. I don't imagine that ever being the case, so long as they're separate. And here's another thing. I have to like point this foolish thought out, because I've heard so many people say, I love college basketball more than pro basketball because they actually play defense in college. And I've watched a lot of college basketball this last weekend. Let me tell you something. They do not. They don't play better defense. They barely play any defense for that matter. You know why? They don't have to, because these kids don't have high field goal percentages. Like they're definitely better than the average Joe, I'll tell you that. And then you got the superstars that end up going to the pros. The reason the pros are as good as they are, you cannot leave a professional basketball player wide open in the middle of the court on the three-point line, because they're going to hit that probably 80 to 90% of the time. Whereas in college basketball, the amount of open three-pointers that could have been game changers that got missed is is actually very frustrating to watch. And I'm sitting here like, pro basketball is by and far way better than college basketball. I like college basketball. It is fun to watch. But you're just not even remotely dealing with the same level of talent. You see the way that the pros coordinate, the way they play defense, the way they actually set up plays, the way they can pass the ball so efficiently. In college, the amount of turnovers I see because of terrible passing, it makes me want to pull what's left of my hair out. And the fact that people like say that college basketball is just so much better because of the defense, I'm just like, there is no defense. They can barely rebound. Hell, they can't even make free throws at a 60% clip. If you're a pro basketball player and you have a field goal or a free throw percentage less than 60, you should not be in the pros. You put somebody on the line to get free throws, they're probably shooting it at a 90%. 80, let's say 80%. That's you almost rarely see star players missing free throws, or for that matter, any wide open shot. It's very rare, and if it does miss, it almost goes in. You see air balls all the time in college basketball. It's been very frustrating for me as a pro basketball fan. I'm an NBA fan through and through. It's way more entertaining. I don't care what people say when it's like, oh, but there's you're scoring hundreds of points and it just seems so pointless. It's like, no, it's because they're making their shots. They're not running back and forth and just missing all these shots and getting the ball stolen and not knowing, it's constantly scoring. They're hitting from three very efficiently. They're able to spread the floor and get people wide open. That doesn't happen in college basketball unless you're like a legit contender. Those are the teams that win the national championships, are the teams that can actually coordinate and have dialogue and be able to like game plan. And they're young. It's that's how it should be. You would assume college basketball wouldn't be better than the pros. At least I would. That's what I wouldn't assume that. But then you got all these like college basketball purists out here that are just like, yeah, it's so much better. And I could see the argument for college football. Okay, I will actually see the argument. And again, it's because they don't play defense as well. The reason you're able to see so many points scored in college football, the reason the scores are always like 63 to 52 or whatever, it's because they don't play defense very well. All it takes is to break open a wide open run or get a guy gets a half a step on a cornerback. They're gone for a touchdown. You get 80-yard touchdowns, 60-yard touchdowns all the time in college football. But that is more exciting. I do agree with that. I actually can see the argument for college football being more entertaining. And like the atmosphere and the fan base and all that stuff. The school pride. Whatever. I get all that. The fanfare. I don't understand the basketball thing. While March Madness is fun. And it's kind of, I think it's kind of dumb that they even call it March Madness anymore, being that only 1 week of it is even in March. Why wouldn't you start it at the beginning of March if you want to call it March Madness? Like, I understand it still happens in March, and you can't get rid of the clever name now that it's especially so trademarkable and people talk about it all the time as like one of their favorite events. And it is a fun event. I do like the bracket system. I do think it's cool to watch it happen. And shout out to Montana State. They almost made it into the bracket. Damn good game. I'm not a Montana State fan, but I'll root for Montana if they have a chance to get in. They almost pulled it off. Tough loss for those guys. And, in that case, it sucks to not see them go in, but at the same time, being a Grizz fan, I'm sitting here like, what do you do? I'm not going to cry over it. God, what else? I feel like there was something else I wanted to mention with the tournament. But, another reason I chose UNC to win was so that, because Pow, my good friend who's been on the show many a times, he's a big UNC fan. So I'm thinking if I pick UNC, me and him could watch some games together. And that was another thing. Like a couple days ago, I went and watched UNC play. I think it was on Saturday. I just went to my buddy's house and we just hung out, watched the game. It was a great time. I need to start doing more of that. I need to get out of the bars and it's just getting so redundant at this point. And I feel like I've had this conversation, I've mentioned this on the show before. I've mentioned how I feel like I'm in like a revolving door of drinking, feeling bad for myself, and then I'm done. Like I realize that it's a problem. I slow down. I start trying to be healthy, and then it's just somehow or another I get back sucked into the mayhem. March mayhem. And of course, St. Patrick's Day definitely didn't help tee that off for this past couple weeks. But nonetheless, and that was the other thing that really pissed me off, that just got to me, that annoyed me the most, was I told myself, I said, self, after St. Patrick's Day, we're going hard, we're having fun, we're gonna have a good time, and that'll be like the coup de grace for a while. We'll take a little break, and then when I go to Denver next month, that's when we'll start kicking it back up again. We'll take a little break. And then, try and get a little bit healthier, start working out maybe a little more, start eating healthier. I have done none of that. I've been eating like shit every day almost. And definitely not working out, unless you call me working on a six pack. It's the wrong kind of six pack I'm working on. And it's more like a 38 pack. It has not been good. So hopefully this little setback where I'm feeling really bad about my behavior will set into my brain a little harder this time, and give me some clarity to not continue down that bad road that I don't want to go down. So whatever. It is what it is. I forgave myself, and we move on. Life moves on. In the big thing, other than March Madness, all the talk that I'm hearing on every podcast, on every YouTube channel, is this Nickelodeon doc. Okay, it's on HBO Max. I can't even remember the name of it, but everyone's talking about this Nickelodeon doc, where it's basically talking about the absolute horrible work conditions that these child actors had to endure, including sexual assault and sexual misconduct and just really perverted things. Which, I mean, if you took one look at Dan Snyder and was like, this is the guy in charge of all the children, you might do a double take. You might say, this guy looks like a pedo. This guy looks like a problem. And sure as shit, here we are, all these years later, just now finding out about this. God, I was, when those shows were popular, like Drake and Josh, and I guess iCarly was a little bit after that, but Victorious was one of the shows. I guess Hannah Montana was Disney. But all the what was the other one? The Amanda Show, Amanda Bynes. Poor Amanda Bynes, God. She tried to tell us all along. She and everybody just assumed she just was crazy, that she was a junkie, a drug addict, and she was. But why do you think that happened? Why do you think all these child actors become nuts, like Miley Cyrus, like Macaulay Culkin, which, kudos to Macaulay Culkin, he's definitely done better for himself, but he had a rough patch there. What's the one kid? The kid from the Goonies, I can't think of his name. Corey Feldman. Him, all these kids, you think they got it made being child stars, and it's a reoccurring theme with these child stars that they grow up and they're all fucked up in the head. They become addicted to pills because they're trying to escape all this like insanity that they had to go through. Because it's either a combination of one of these things. Either their parents were absolute pieces of shit. They took all their money. They controlled all their earnings, and they were like very overly controlling parents, and like, you know, all this shit. You have to deal with fame at a young age. You're dealing with body shaming. You're coming into like puberty and all this, and then you got people like talking about your weight and talking about how you look, and then to top it all off, you get a guy like Dan Schneider who hires a bunch of pedophiles. There was three child abusers that were part of his like production company. And then he himself has also been labeled as committing some sexual deviancies, which I don't want to speak out of turn here. I don't know if he has been accused of actually being like a predator, or if it's just all creepy stuff. You know, like there's the whole foot thing, like he has a foot fetish, which is insane when you look back at it, because there's all these clips of girls, it's mostly girls, really like sticking their feet into the camera, and there was one where Victoria Justice had like something poured all over her feet. There's like way too many weird feet things. And then you go on to realize the Nickelodeon logo used to be a foot. How fucking weird is all that? Like, it was all right in our face the whole time. This dude's a creep. Now, I will say this. I don't know that he's been accused of like actually assaulting anybody, but Amanda Bynes. So back in this was, I don't know, when she was going through her first real, stint of drug abuse, and like everybody thought she just was losing her mind. Can you blame the poor girl for all the crazy stuff she had to go through? She had to make a fake, like a what do you call it? She made a separate Twitter or Facebook or whatever it was, a separate social media site, because her parents, it was similar to Britney Spears, where they had the conservatorship over her, and they were controlling her social media. She couldn't even control her own social media because her parents were super controlling. She had the worst of it all because she had the abuse, she had the crazy parents, and then, obviously having to deal with fame and being a young girl who's probably all constantly getting told about her weight and her, like, you gotta look pretty and all this craziness. But she wrote on her social media site back then that at the age of 13 she got pregnant, and I'm pretty sure she names Dan Snyder as the person that impregnated her at 13, and he forced her to get an abortion. Wasn't Zoe 101 around that? Was that a Nickelodeon one? I don't remember, but what's her name? Jamie Lynn Spears, she got pregnant at a young age, and there's a lot of weird stuff with this. Jeanette McCurdy, another person who came out saying that Dan Snyder was very, he was rude, always like yelling at them and like kind of like downgrade, like talking down to them, belittling them, just being a total piece of shit. And one of these girls said that she got fired, basically. Well, first of all, because Amanda Bynes came in. It was on what's that sketch show? I can't, not so random. I don't know. The sketch show that Amanda Bynes was originally on. When Amanda Bynes came in, this other girl who was kind of the star got pushed out because Dan Snyder said that she was getting too fat. Hey, Dan Snyder, have you looked in a fucking mirror lately? The guy looks like he's melting. He is obnoxiously fat. He looks like he got a air pump stuck into his belly button and they just started going and going and going. Like, that dude is disgusting. And for him to say that some little girl is too fat, who the fuck is he to even remotely comment on somebody's weight? But yeah, and then here's the other problem I have with all this. Drake Bell from Drake and Josh, he comes out and he said his piece. He talks about the abuse that he faced while working for Disney by one of the pedophiles that Dan Snyder hired and basically put these kids in danger with. And I believe that guy did end up serving time, the guy who Drake Bell says abused him. And, you know, everybody now is coming out and, like, talking about how Drake Bell is, like, he's so brave for what he did and what he and for coming out and speaking his truth and all this. And you know what? I believe him. I believe that he faced those all that abuse, and I believe he's telling the truth, and that he had trauma and he went through a lot of really shitty things as a young kid. And I'm not here to say that, like, I'm not going to sit here and say that it's deserved. Of course not. Like, I would never say that. But has everybody forgotten that Drake Bell was found guilty? He pled guilty to basically grooming an underage girl, like texting an underage girl and asking for photos, and he was being predatory himself. So all this sympathy toward Drake Bell, all of a sudden, I'm sympathetic to his situation. I'm sympathetic to the fact that he was abused and that's wrong, and he should never have dealt with that. But you don't get sympathy if you're trying to get sympathy for the thing that you are also doing. What the fuck are we even talking about here? And I know there is a very high percentage of people who were abused as children become abusers themselves. That doesn't justify jack shit. You know, I grew up around drug addicts and people who, you know, both my parents went to jail. I was in and around jails all the time. A lot of my family has been incarcerated and committing crime and just doing all kinds of bad shit, you know? And there's a statistic of that too. There's a statistic of people who when raised around criminal activity end up becoming criminals themselves. Here's the thing with both these scenarios. I didn't become a criminal. You know why? I still have free will. I still have the ability to know what's right and wrong. I'm not going to go rob somebody. I'm not going to go steal stuff. I'm not going to do drugs and shit like that because I know it's wrong. I know it's bad. I know the consequences. So to ever justify that kids who are abused, like when they become abusers, I don't think anybody really justifies that as a means of but it's like, how can you say that that's okay? Or how can you ever, like, use that as an excuse, is what I'm trying to say. You can't use that as an excuse for their, like, horrible behavior. So yes, I am sympathetic to Drake Bell's situation and what he went through, but he doesn't get to have a redemption arc all of a sudden after he pled guilty to doing the exact same thing. Now, did he actually abuse this young girl? No. But had he not been caught, do you think he would have stopped at texting? Do you think he would have stopped at asking for photos? No. This motherfucker would have gone all the way, and, you know, I'm sick of this, like, everywhere on Facebook and Instagram and stuff, I'm just seeing all this, like, praise for Drake Bell. And even the mom who played his, like, the actress who played his mom on Drake and Josh came out and said, I'm so proud of the man that he's become and what he's, you know, for him to be so strong to come out and speak about this. And it's like, you're so proud of the man he became, which was the exact same thing that he's fighting against here. Like, you're proud that he became a sex deviant, like a predator. That's, I don't know if that's something to be too proud of. It's all bad. It's just all bad shit. It's not good. I haven't even watched the doc yet. I kind of think I probably will, just because it's pretty intense. The idea that all this was going on. Here I am, a kid, watching some of these shows, and some of my favorite shows. You know, Drake and Josh was a great show. I really enjoyed that, and little did we know they're all being abused. That's another interesting point too, though, is Josh Peck, Drake's co-star, has said all this really good stuff about Dan Snyder, and he's never really come out and spoken. He's never spoken out about any of the bad stuff that has gone on, or the things they talk about in this documentary. He never really has spoken out. He's another person that dealt with a lot of shit. It was never sexual, probably because he was a bigger kid himself, and these perverts don't. Apparently, they're not into the big boys. But the fact that he hasn't really spoken out, they're kind of talking about that he maybe got hush money, and so therefore he's not saying anything. He's been very quiet through all of this. As a co-star on that show that supposedly had a lot of really bad shit going on in the back and behind the scenes. There's a lot of like lewd jokes that they would put into some of these shows, and like I said, the feet stuff. It's interesting. And Miranda Cosgrove is another one that really hasn't said a whole lot. So it's curious to see which of these kids have like gone through stuff. And it's not just the kids, it's not just the actors. There was writers that faced discrimination. There's producers and camera people and stuff like that. It was just a hostile work environment all around. Not just in the sexual nature, but in the just overall like verbal and mental abuse that was handed out on the daily. There's also a weird video of freaking Dan Snyder in a hot tub with, I can only assume, a 10-year-old Amanda Bynes, 10 or 11-year-old Amanda Bynes. It was all right in front of us the whole time, and and now here we are seeing the dark side of childhood cartoons. Basically, they were childhood sitcoms. See, I was more of a Cartoon Network kid. Cartoon Network never really did the like the live action sitcoms. Obviously, it was Cartoon Network that was like their base, but Disney Channel and Nickelodeon, and it's like I said, one of the only childhood actors I can even think of that really came out unscathed was Hilary Duff. Like, she's doing great. She's got a family. She doesn't act no more. She's just living off of her residuals, and she has a great life. She never really went down the rabbit hole of drugs and alcohol and psychiatric issues. But like, what's her name? Freaking Demi Lovato. So many of these kids. It's there's such a connection. Like, you can see it. This goes all the way back to Shirley Temple. Shirley Temple had issues, and Judy Garland. This is not a new thing. Childhood acting, a lot of these kids just end up fucked up forever from all that. I'm sure the pressure is immense. You're trying to support your family as a child by doing this really crazy thing that's not very normal. You don't get to go to school like a normal kid. You don't get to have a normal just childhood. Yeah, it's unfortunate, and I probably will check out that documentary though. It's all the rage right now. The new trailer for Beetlejuice, the new Beetlejuice. When did the first one come out? Was it the 90s? It might. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, because and this is my logic to realizing that it came out in the 90s. First of all, you got to think about the young Alec Baldwin and a young Michael Keaton. But my logic is actually with what's her name? Winona Ryder. She was very young, and then I know she was in Mr. Deeds, which came out in like 2003, and she was an adult. So it must have been either like early 80s, late 90s, or early 90s, late, losing my mind. It was early 90s, late 80s, I'm guessing, when Beetlejuice came out. Well, Beetlejuice 2 just dropped. Very exciting. Looks like it's going to be a good one. The lovely Jenna Ortega is taking up the role. It seems to be Winona Ryder's daughter, perhaps. Michael Keaton returns as Beetlejuice. I'm actually shocked they only had one Beetlejuice movie, to be honest. Because they had the cartoon, and now, all these years later, we're getting a sequel. Which it's exciting. I think everybody's pretty excited about it. Tim Burton returns as the director. And Jenna Ortega is just perfect. She is like a perfect actress for Tim Burton. She has that thing. She's got that creepy factor. Just like how Johnny Depp was like a perfect character actor for Tim Burton, and now he has Jenna Ortega. It's like it's only a matter of time before the two of them are in a Tim Burton movie together. But it's interesting to think that, you know, this new Beetlejuice movie is coming up, and everybody's super excited. I'm excited, and they just announced Happy Gilmore 2 is going to be coming out on Netflix. It's already been greenlit, and that Happy Gilmore is one of my all-time favorite comedy movies. It's one of my favorite Adam Sandler movies, and I'm a huge Adam Sandler fan. I am not even remotely excited about Happy Gilmore 2 because I think when it comes to a movie like Beetlejuice, or, you know, you get certain action movies or certain dramas or certain things like that, a sequel is welcome. When you have a classic comedy like Happy Gilmore or like Dumb and Dumber or Anchorman, nobody ever asks for a sequel. Like, just leave classic comedies, leave classic movies alone. Now, you could say that's where it's kind of an interesting thought, is Beetlejuice was basically a classic, right? And now they're coming out with the second one, and it's exciting. On the opposite hand, like I said, Joe Dirt 2, who saw that? Nobody. But the first one's a classic. And now you're going to make Happy Gilmore 2? Like, what the fuck are you going to do? How are you going to, like, it's just going to be the same movie again. That's what they did with Dumb and Dumber 2. That's what they did with, and dude, prequels, don't even get me started on prequels to comedies. But, like, The Hangover, I guess it worked in that, but I think it was written to be a trilogy. And it's not a classic comedy, it's like a new age comedy. You can kind of get away with it more with the new age comedies. Classics? Like, would you ever want to see Tommy Boy 2? I know we never will, obviously, because Chris Farley's not here. But if he was, would you really want a Tommy Boy 2? Anchorman 2, I'll give credit. It wasn't that bad. But it doesn't even come close to the first one. Do you want to see Step Brothers 2? Is everybody clamoring for well, and like they made a Mask 2? That sucked. It was horrible. Oh, you know what? There is one exception that at least comes to my mind right now, and that's Ace Ventura. Ace Ventura 2 is actually better than Ace Ventura 1, in my opinion. So they actually did nail it with that one. But they also made them like back to back. They made them like 2 years apart. So it kind of worked out in that way. Whereas like these movies are coming out 20 years later, 25 years later from the first one. We're going to see like an old Adam Sandler golfing as Happy Gilmore. So we got to get the whole backstory of what he's been doing these last 20 years. Dude, it's not I hate it. I hate it so much when they fuck with classic comedies, because it's almost like it just takes away from the first one. It takes away from the beauty of the first movie. I hate that they did Dumb and Dumber 2. And it's all just a cash grab. You know? It's like everybody, the majority of people who enjoy comedies and people who love Jim Carrey, Dumb and Dumber's right up there in the top 3. Always. It's considered one of the greatest comedy movies of all time. So if you're going to greenlight a sequel, you know, most people are going to go see it, just out of curiosity's sake. It was so bad. I kind of hated myself for going to see it. It kind of takes away from the original, like I said. So, not happy about Happy Gilmore 2, even though, again, huge Adam Sandler fan. Just make an original. Make an original movie. Like Grown Ups 2, the first one wasn't even that great, by the way, but the second one was not, it was so it was good, it was fine, it wasn't the worst movie I've ever seen. And again, they made them very close together. Making these movies, like sequels to these movies 20 years later is just absolutely ridiculous. I'm not for it. What else? What else we got going on? So, okay, you know, in the, since we're talking about classic things, I wouldn't even call this classic, but you know, old things becoming relevant again, or coming into a newer age. I find this very interesting for me. There is a band who hasn't really been all that relevant for a long time. And it seems like in the last couple years, they've really come back into the zeitgeist a little bit. They've kind of become a known band again, whether it's because of nostalgia, because they weren't really around for a long time, and now they're back and they're doing all the festivals and touring circuits and stuff. And I've seen a lot of it, a lot of videos posted, and it's just the talk of the town, it seems like. And this is a band that I never really liked. Never really found them good. I was never into their music. There's a couple songs that are decent, but it was too cheesy, and like, it just never was my thing. And the band I'm referring to is Limp Bizkit. There's a couple songs like, you know, Give Me Some to Break, and it's like, okay, that's fun, that's nostalgic. It reminds me of early 2000s new metal era, but you know, stick it up your man, like there's so many like things that are just like dumb. My Way or the Highway was an alright song, but keep rolling, like it's just kind of dumb. I never really got into it. But I will say this new resurgence that they're kind of going through, I fuck with it. I kind of like it. I'm kind of down for it. I my whole life, I considered Limp Bizkit one of my least favorite bands. It was one of my most just did not give a flying fuck about Limp Bizkit. Now, it's kind of, you know, I like seeing the comeback story in a way. I like seeing them gain that popularity a little bit. With there's new fans, there's old fans. Like I said, the nostalgia thing. Fred Durst was always just kind of a punk. I never was a huge Fred Durst guy. But it, like I said, I see the videos. It's funny how like sometimes time really makes things a little bit, it ages things just a little bit better. I could listen to some of those dumbass songs that I hated my whole life now and actually like kind of jam to them, because I guess now I don't look at them as serious, right? It's more like, it's fun to be like, it's just a fun song, right? Some of these dumb songs that they wrote, they're kind of fun now. They're fun to jam to. They're fun to listen to in the shop. And when it comes on, it's just like, getting down with it. And then you see these huge crowds at these festivals just jumping up and down to some of these songs. It's pretty cool. I'll give them their flowers for that. Still not, I still would never consider myself a fan. If they came here, I might go check it out, depending on who else was playing. I wouldn't turn down the opportunity. It's interesting because, like I said, I've for my whole life just hated them. And now I find myself kinda dipping my toe in the water a little bit, being like, you know what? This ain't half bad. It's fun. Let's just say that. It's fun. I would never look at it as artistic brilliance, but it's fun. They're just having fun. It's just fun music. You just have, whatever. It's cool. I'm cool with it. There's no room to hate. Why hate on something when you can just have fun? When you can just enjoy it and have the fun and everybody's having a good time. So, no, I'm not gonna shit on the good time. I just thought it was funny because it's just been popping up a lot. Limp Bizkit, just the people playing their music. I'll hear people playing the music. I'll hear it in the bars sometimes. It's just interesting. I never thought I'd see the day, right? I just never thought that would happen, and here they are. They 100% should go on tour with Korn. That would be badass. If Korn and Limp Bizkit came here, I would 100% go check that out. Mostly because Korn is just a badass band. But if Limp Bizkit was part of it, I'd be down. Oh, what else do we got going on? Kate Middleton, the princess, she'd be the princess of Wales, the Duchess of Wales. Is that her correct title? King or Prince, not Prince Harry. Prince Harry's the loony bin one with his crazy wife. What is Prince? Is it Harry? No, Harry's the one that's married to, what's her name? I don't pay attention to any of these motherfuckers. Fuck the monarchy and fuck Britain. But anyway, Kate Middleton, she the last time she was seen was on Christmas, and then she just disappeared, and she's one of these people that one of these royals that shows up pretty frequently, and she goes to all of her the things that she's supposed to attend, all the dinners and all the things, and there was it was suspected that there might be some kind of affair going on, either between her and another dude, or the prince. Why the fuck can't I think of his name? It's gonna hit me at the end of the episode, and I'm gonna it's not Charles, because that's the king. William. There he goes. Got it. Jeez. One of the most simple names and I fucking couldn't think of William. Prince William. So it was suspected that maybe there was an affair going on. There was all these rumors and all these thoughts of what may be going on, why she's not around. I guess she had an abdominal laceration or something like that, they mentioned. So they were thinking maybe Prince William stabbed her, and everybody's kind of thinking, is this going to be Diana part 2? Because that's why Diana got killed, by the way, in case you don't know. It's because she was going to marry, or she was dating a Saudi Arabian guy, I think. He was some Middle Eastern guy, or he was either Indian or Middle Eastern, I don't remember. And the royal family just was not having that. And she was, and I think partially also because the queen was super jealous of Princess Diana, because she was so much, she was the talk of town. Everybody wanted to talk about Diana. Diana was the number one person. So they fucking had her killed. And now we're thinking, oh, we're going to have part 2 of Kate Middleton. And there was weird photoshopped pictures, look, here she is, she's fine. And there were, you could tell her PR team or somebody else was writing her posts. And they even tried to be oh, I was just experimenting with photo, because everybody nowadays everybody's a fucking detective, and they were able to decipher the fact that these photos they were posting were doctored. And so they post another one that's like, oh, ha ha ha, I was just fooling around with Photoshop, and I'm an amateur Photoshop user. And it's like, that is the worst cover-up in a long line of cover-ups. You could cover up that you killed Diana, that it was some freak accident, but now you're just like, oh, I just flubbed some Photoshop. So there's that increased the rumors, or that increased the suspicion of, where is she? Why haven't we seen her? Why is all this weird shit happening? Well, after all this stuff, turns out she has cancer. So that's a real bummer. Everybody's like thinking Prince Harry or Prince William's gonna kill her, or like have her murked because she cheated on him, or he cheated on her and she found out, or there's all these like crazy speculation. She's got cancer. That's sad. Because she's been a good queen, apparently. Or a princess. Like, she would make a good queen. And she's like on the verge of being the queen, because apparently Prince Charles is sick. I don't know. Fuck them all. I don't give a... the royal family has never been on my list of people I give a fuck about. So, whatever. But, go figure. You get to be... You're almost going to be queen. Hopefully she pulls through. Hopefully it's nothing too serious. Don't ever... as much as I don't care, I don't wish anything poor to her. And she seems like a nice person, so why would I ever want anything bad to happen? But it was crazy to see, like, the roller coaster of, like, what's going on here? And all the speculation and all the all the crazy allegations. Some of that shit would have been wild if it was true. It's almost unfortunate that it's not. It would have been a very interesting story. Turns out it's just a very sad story. So that's cool, right? That's super cool. But, shout out to Kate Middleton. I hope all is well. Hope all turns out well. And now maybe the British press will stop breathing down your neck. But they never will, because the British press absolutely fucking sucks. I guess we'll close it out with this. Went to a couple children's birthday parties. My friend Mac, his daughter turned 2. And then just this weekend, my friend Gabe, both have been on the podcast before, his son turned 1. So it's, I don't have any kids, but it's cool to like go to these parties and get to see these kids and hang out with the families and see everybody. It did make me think, though, being it that I don't have any kids and I don't go to a lot of children's birthday parties, because I will be now because a lot of my friends are having kids. I don't know how this never dawned on me until just recently, because of these 2 parties. Is it not strange to all of us that we do the birthday cake, right? We do the birthday cake, we do the birthday candles. Again, we lie to children and tell them that blowing out the candles somehow is going to make a wish come true. So just add that to the list of lies that we tell children. That's why kids grow up with trust issues, is because the Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy and Santa Claus and fucking random candle wishes that, how would that, there's no logic. I mean, to a kid, there is no logic with anything, but like, why would that ever be a thing? It just, it blows my mind to think that was, somebody thought of that. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is, we do the birthday cake, we do the candles, all this. Nobody really stopped to think, this is all post-COVID, right? We just let these booger-eating kids blow their spit all over these cakes, and then we're just down to eat it? I never thought of that. Like, I don't care. I'm not a germaphobe, but like, especially in this, like, everybody's so hypersensitive about germs and COVID and breathing on shit and whatever. This has been a tradition for years. And some of these kids They nasty. Not my friends' kids. My friends' kids are cool. They're good. They're nice. They're, but thinking about all the birthday parties I ever went to, you got some of these slobbery kids just blowing their spit all over the cake, and then you're just gonna eat it. I'll never forget this one time. I was in school, I would have been, I think it was 3rd grade, and this girl was handing out, you know how on like your birthday during school, you'd bring cupcakes or you bring a treat or something like that. This girl it was her birthday, so she's handing out cupcakes, and every time she'd grab one, she'd get a little bit of frosting on her thumb, and she would lick it off, grab the next cupcake with her licked finger. Oh, more frosting on that one. We're going to lick that one off too. And I'll never forget the girl sitting next to me. It was right before we got our cupcakes. The girl sitting next to me goes, are you going to lick your finger? Are you just going to like spit all over all our food? You're just going to lick your finger after every time? And then and I go, yeah. Like I was her hype man. I was just like, yeah, you're right. What are you doing? I would have never said anything. I would have just let it happen. I was just excited to have a cupcake. I didn't care. I wasn't even paying attention that she was licking her thumb until the one girl said that. But in all fairness, everybody hated this girl. So I think that's why I piled on. I was like, yeah, what are you doing, you sick son of a bitch? Why don't you just eat the frosting and then hand me why don't you just lick the whole frosting and then hand it over to me? Yeah, we do the birthday candle thing's a little weird. We're just eating birthday cake with spit. But that's okay. Because who cares? As long as we're having fun, right? All right, that's gonna wrap us up here. Let's do a little recap. What do we got? Nickelodeon doc, you gotta check that out. Sad shit, but I'm still, I'm not down with the Drake Bell stuff. He still is not a good dude, and he doesn't get forgiveness out of all this. March Madness. How them brackets looking? Comment how your brackets are doing. I don't know. I never talk about commenting on here. Limp Bizkit. The resurgence is here. But the real thing to remember is this too shall pass. No matter how you're feeling, if it's bad, if you're down on your luck, if you're down on yourself, things are not, whether it's personal or just whatever. If you ever feel down, if you ever have bad thoughts, if you ever just in a rut, just remember, this too shall pass. And we move forward to the future with good thoughts and good intentions and positivity. And with that, make sure to do me a favor, like, share, subscribe, follow on all platforms. But most importantly, don't forget, life's a garden. Dig it. Just gotta keep on keeping on.
Why don't you talk in the microphone? I got a back right here. Back of my. Life's a garden, dig it, you make it work.